I feel like I look up every day and I'm like, oh my God, how did I get here? And then now that I have a team, I'm like, how did we get here?
Welcome to We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T. I'm Alicia Jay, and today we have a very special guest for a very special Connecting Changes Everything interview presented by AT&T. We are here with the one and only Esther Wallace. Esther, thank you so much for joining us today.
Of course, I'm super excited. Always good to see you.
Always great to see you. Well, Esther, she is well known in the women's sports circles and space. She is the founder and designer of the Playa Society, which I am wearing a shirt right now. And let me tell you, I wear your stuff so much. I think this is what people think I wear all the time, literally. I'm surprised on these pods that they don't say, girl, do you have any other clothes? Because I just wear them all the time and I'm not playing. But when I tell you that you have forever changed and continue to change the women's sports landscape, and we're so excited to have you on today to talk about everything that you've done. But let's just start with, how did the Playa Society come about?
How? Wow. I don't know how. I feel like I look up every day and I'm like, oh my God, how did I get here? And then now that I have a team, I'm like, how did we get here? Even 1 month to the next, it's just like, we're just kind of sprinting. And I think that's been the story. I kind of say like, I didn't necessarily find Play Society, it found me. And it's just been the culmination of all of these different decisions and moves. And now, here we are. But to not give sometimes I'm like, I'm just a cliche artist, right? Because everything is just like this discovery and the universe did it. But to be specific in any way that I can, I will say that it was me being an artist and always sketching and walking around with my sketchbook from a young age. In elementary school is probably the first sketchbook I can remember. And then becoming this athlete when I got to high school in the 10th grade and becoming obsessed with basketball, to going overseas and then exploring why and trying to answer and problem solve around the underrepresentation for women in sports, right? So it was kind of all of these moments that came together for me to then say, this is a problem or something I want to solve and something that I want to create. I wanted to create the brand that I felt was missing. And it was a long journey. It's been a long journey. And here we are.
Well, you have certainly done that on every single level. When I was doing my research on you, I know you, but I was like, let me just dive into her story. And I saw that you created the shirt that said female and it was crossed out. And I actually wore that shirt and didn't realize that that was your first shirt that you ever created. Mm-hmm. And I just want to know, why was that your first shirt and what brought that first shirt about? Like, how did you just decide, I'm gonna make this shirt?
Yeah. Wow. I will. So before that shirt, that was when I was kind of like trying to problem solve, right? I was like, I recognized this problem. And I started becoming obsessed with it and researching and learning more about women's sports from a marketing lens and, advertising and branding. So I started diving into all of those things. And I also simultaneously started like playing around with designing some t-shirts, right? So for those who do know me before Play Society launched, there were some other t-shirts and little products that came out before the female athlete t-shirt. So I was playing around, trying to figure out what my voice was or what I wanted to say. And then in August 2017, I landed on the female athlete t-shirt. I probably had been in development with that for like a year, right? But I finally was like, okay, it's ready. I'm going to put it out. Because it was a big statement to me and I was like kind of nervous. So I ended up putting it out just because it ended up being that product that felt like it could speak to the shared experiences of women in sports. And so I kind of took that little leap of faith, or big leap of faith is what it felt like, and started selling hundreds of them, which was more than anything else I was selling at the time. And that's when I was like, okay, now it's time to come up with a brand name and really get serious about this and build the brand around that statement.
Well, listen, you said for those who know, well, school me, what was the first thing that you ever made? What was the first thing?
What was the first thing? Oh my goodness. So as being an artist, it's like, oh my goodness, I don't want anybody to see some of those early ideas, right? But I think the first thing that I put out, everybody kind of knows, well, everybody who was there early on really knows this one like crew neck sweatshirt that I had that was kind of like a tribute to like the vintage Bulls kind of merch that you used to see in the 90s. So that was like one of the first products that I think anyone really saw from me. And then I had this Live Every Day Like It's Game Day t-shirt. So I had a couple, I had a statement tee, I had like some a graphic crew neck, and then came the female athlete t-shirt.
Well, I'm going to dive in because I want both of those. Okay. I need the OGs. I need the originals. Okay. I thought I had it, but I had the third iteration. But when you think about all these iterations and you think about the Playa Society as a whole, how did you name it? How did you name this movement that you've created?
I'll also say like it felt like the name found me. Playa Society just stuck it just came together in my head, and I kept trying to think, okay, don't go with the first thought. Like there's got to be something else, something deeper. I could probably work on the name forever, right? So I was trying to think of other names, but Playa Society just kept sticking in my head. I knew that I wanted to build something that was really centered around community. And then the play, I always say that it must have been that scene in Love and Basketball where Monica's like, I'm a ball player. And I think that maybe had something to do with it, but honestly, I think it just came together out of like the spirit of what I wanted the brand to be. And now looking back, the name is just so fitting because Playa Society, sorry about that.
You're in high demand.
The name, is so fitting now because Playa Society really has been rooted in the support of the players organically over time. And so I always am adamant about putting the players first.
When you talk about community, you talk about putting the players first. I personally think that what you have done has really propelled women's sports in general forward in so many ways. I mean, you want to talk about marketing and just the trajectory of what style and merchandise and stuff has done for the league, or just in general in women's sports, not just the league, because you touch so many spaces. You talked about community, and Playa Society has definitely built a phenomenal community, not just of players, but just people who want amazing merchandise, and you have given that to them. And that's just an understatement. There's so many things that you've done at Playa Society, but how do you think you've built community over the years?
This couldn't have been more authentic, right? And it didn't feel like I was necessarily building things. It felt like I was just navigating a space that I was in very authentically. So there wasn't a lot of data and research outside of what I was writing for once I was done with school. There was no more research after I got my master's degree. So it was kind of just navigating a space authentically and doing what I knew and what I kind of leaned into as the shared experiences between myself and my teammates and friends who were in the women's sports world. So really, it was very natural and organic, and it has been. I always say I started with very limited resources and even limited connections. I didn't know any of the players in the league. And so everything was very organic and kind of just a natural course for the conversation. And being the only brand when I started in 2018 that was having these conversations and that was making product for this community. Again, I think it just kind of took a natural course.
Well, you talked about it being a natural course, being organic in your experience. On your bio page, it said, on the Playa Society website specifically, it said, I realized that I would have played at least at a younger age if I had seen more representation, more images of Lisa Leslie, more televised women's basketball games. So we see how visible women's basketball is now. How does that make you feel? And you're a huge part of that.
It's amazing. I think we're all so excited because of what this means now. And I think I heard someone say that, we have a generation of young girls who are growing up with women's sports as their norm, right? Which is amazing. So I think that it's an exciting time, and it's exciting to be a part of creating what this looks like somewhat. And so, comparing it to when I was growing up and not wanting to play basketball or not having those examples, people were always telling me to hoop because I was tall. I know you know what that's
I
like.
do.
People were always saying you should play basketball, you should play basketball, but I never had any examples. I knew a lot about, not a lot, but comparatively, I knew a lot more about the NBA and just NBA culture, but I had not been exposed to women's basketball at all, really. So seeing the contrast it's exciting to be a part of this moment and how I'm a part of it, being able to create and interact and have these conversations.
Well, and you had Lisa Leslie in that quote, and she's one of the legends that has worn your merchandise. She was actually one of the first ones to really to wear it, I would say, like one of the players specifically.
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean to you that she would support you in this way, and that players continue to support you in the ways that they support you for the Playa Society?
I mean, listen, Lisa Leslie is the epitome of legend, like legendary, right? And so, and even like growing up, she was on TV shows and things like that, right? So she was probably the only WNBA player at the time that I knew of, or before I started playing basketball. So I mean, it's sometimes I don't even have words for it, when you see someone that is so pivotal to the culture of women's sports, women's basketball. There's really no words that can describe. But I am super grateful for the connections and for the support, the organic support, when players reach out, when players are wearing merch every single time. It never fails. Me and my team, we're always sharing like TikTok videos or, even if it's just like the side of someone, we're like, oh, I know that's the Playa Society hockey jersey. We're always sharing it and we're always hype about it. So the excitement never really fades. And it's just great to know that what we're doing is being effective, because that's what it's all about, is like the players having something that they feel connected to and decide to put on.
Absolutely. And there's so many players that have done that. Lisa, I mentioned Lisa, but I mean, from Sue Bird to Natasha Cloud, I mean, the list goes on and on. You've done a lot of collaborations with players as well. What collaboration are you most proud of? It's kind of hard to say because they're all so different and they're all so amazing, but is there one that just sticks out to you the most?
I mean, I always say the Cheryl Swoops drop, the shirt that you're wearing.
I mean, what?
Because that was the first throwback, like a player that's retired. I always said when I was designing this product, the whole time I'm sketching Lisa Leslie, and I'm like, I cannot believe that this doesn't exist the whole time I'm sketching. And so to be able to bring it to life and put this product on the market that should have existed in 96, 97, 98, right? So that always stands out. And also because I love swoops. Who doesn't, right?
Yeah.
So even just like knowing her and her personality and her energy that she brings into a room, I was just really proud to be able to, do that and celebrate her that way.
And you definitely do. I mean, I celebrate her a lot because I be wearing this everywhere. And people go crazy over your merch when they see it, because I know that there are other people in this space. I get it. But you create it's beautiful stuff. It definitely stands out. It's an amazing representation, a true representation of women in sports, and just it's still underrepresented, in my opinion. You have disrupted the space in so many different ways, and I'm so thankful for that. But even when you said 2018, and you were the only one doing it, that is not too far. Like, we're not too far removed from 2018. So, I mean, it's hard, but like, do you hope that you are inspiring other people to start their own lines? Like, how do you feel about that going forward? Because I mean, I love your stuff. I wear it all the time, like I said, but also it's baffling to me why there isn't more in the space.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that I'm inspiring like innovation and creativity and all of those things. I mean, I did something that was super authentic to myself. And I know that there were so many other creatives at the same time or around the same time, even thinking back to 2021 when I started working with the WNBA officially, right? And I know that there were so many other creatives who wanted to fill a void, whether it was merch or something else, right? And a lot of us have kind of grown together in this space, which is great. And so just inspiring all of us to kind of do the things that feel natural and authentic to us. That's for certain. And as far as merch goes, like definitely want to inspire that creativity, right? Doing something that feels fresh and new and different. You know, finding a voice and a style and aesthetic. Because, you know, at the foundation, that's essentially what I did.
Yeah, and you continue to do it. And you're doing it outside of merchandise. You had an amazing court collaboration with the Atlanta Dream. And at center court, it said, pay some respect to women's sports, period. Well, it didn't say the period part. I put that on there. But when I saw that, number one, I was just elated because, I mean, it was an amazing court. And I believe it was the first time anyone has ever partnered with anyone to create a court like that. How did that collaboration come about? And is that something you even thought about when you started the Playa Society?
Yeah, no. To answer the last part of that question, no, I had it's funny because, you know, when things don't exist, you can only see so far. And I was definitely, you know, laser focused on changing the culture when it came to what people were putting on. I didn't think that would turn into a court, the actual surface that women are playing on. So it was probably one of the moments where I don't always like check in with myself, like with reality and take time to say, oh my God, look what's happening. But that was one of those moments where I was like, oh my God, I did not want to leave that arena. They literally had to like ask me to leave 5 times. But
I know that's right.
I'm
I'm gonna stay there and get all my pictures. Okay.
Exactly. I got all my pictures. I stood there. I took it in. I wanted to be the last one to leave. But it was amazing. And then to see, I also have to say, being at the game was amazing. And seeing like the Dream play. I know they didn't walk away with the win, but I was definitely rooting for them. But nonetheless, it was an amazing game. So I think all the pieces really came together, and I mean, it was amazing.
It was definitely amazing. And that's a collaboration that I know I won't forget. And you've done a lot of collaborations, whether it be with the WNBA, we talked about specific players. You've had, you know, collaborations with the Women's Final Four, All-Star, an endless list of collaborations that you've done. Was there like a moment when you collabed with someone where you were like, dang, like, I can't believe I'm doing this. I cannot believe I'm here.
Man, I feel like there's definitely a few of those. The one that stands out is the very recently, right as this season was starting, we did the Page DoorDash drop. And there wasn't a lot of time to process that project because it was like so close to drop day where we started. And so for me, it was kind of just like, I had to like work and process everything at the same time. Like I'm working on the design and I'm like, wow, this is for Paige. This is for the #1 draft pick. She just won a championship. And, now we're collaborating on this drop. It was definitely, that was the most exciting way to start the season for sure. And then, getting to do the drop and seeing how amazing it went and being asked still every day, everywhere I go, if people can get that shirt, if we're bringing it back.
Well,
but that was a lot of fun and it was a big moment.
I was going to ask you too, but I won't be the one. I won't be another person.
I might have some extras over there. We could talk.
I'll show you my size after this. But no, literally, when I think about you creating, like in your living room or whatever, like where you're at right now, I know you can't give away the secret sauce or anything like that, but can you give us a little bit of what your design process is like?
Yeah, wow. My design. Okay, so I will own up to the chaos. And I think I thrive in chaos. Like I feel like I create chaos because some part of me loves it. I love to compare it to like the fourth quarter. That's where I feel like I do my best work, honestly. So I think I recognize that kind of early on, like probably in like 2021 or 2022. I was like, I just hit like a game winner with this design, to be honest. So I'm kind of like, maybe the best scenario is for me to really lock in and do my best work like 5 hours before this design is due. So a lot of times it's chaos. And I kind of like put myself in these, I accept high pressure situations when it comes to design and deadlines and all of that. I know my team, it drives them crazy a little bit, but that's probably the most consistent part of my process. But other than that, I think it varies. I'm big on storytelling though. So I think everything has to have a story and a reason and a purpose. The work that I do is definitely purpose driven as a whole. And so I like projects that I feel connected to and there's alignment there. And then I kind of build off of that.
Well, listen, I'm here for the chaos because we see what comes out of the chaos. So I'm here for the chaos. And one thing that's definitely not chaotic, it was historic, is Candace Parker just had her jersey retired. And I know that she was one of the players, the first ones to wear your design. I don't know if she was the first one, but I know she was one of the first ones to wear your design on television. When you saw her wearing Playa Society, what were your thoughts?
Oh, wow. I remember that day because it was like, wow, it was such a different time, right? This was when I was shipping every Playa Society order. So, and this was when she wore it on TV, it was in the evening, right? So I probably had just gotten off of work, my full-time 9-to-5 job. And then, I was always so eager to get home and like work on Playa Society. So I was finally able to work on orders or, responding customer service or whatever I needed to do. I used to write notes to every customer in their order as well. So I was probably doing a lot of that. I know. Obsessed with details. And so I was probably doing a lot of those things. And then on like Instagram, I think it was Instagram or Twitter, customers started telling me that Candace Parker was wearing this shirt. And I was like, what? So I found out because customers were DMing me like, turn on your TV or wherever it was being streamed. And so that part, I think the fact that customers were the ones to be like, that's Playa Society shirt and to come and let me know to catch the moment. And then I just remember watching it over and over and over again. It was another amazing. I was like, I need a better word than amazing, but it's really hard to find the words to even describe how this has been. But it was definitely a special moment to see that.
Man, amazing, special. Use all the words because that's what it is. You talked about customers. Is there a story that you have with one of your customers that was, kind of inspired you? I'm sure they share a lot how how the Playa Society, how your merchandise, how it inspires them. Is there any particular story that comes to mind with that?
Wow. I can't think of one specific that's like long enough to tell. I will say I love when we're able to do the pop-ups because, especially now I always, even at night, like I always scroll through to see what people are buying, or like, I like to look at names and things like that and see if any of the names stand out. But when we have our pop-ups and our in-person shops, I love those because that's when I actually get to interact with customers in person, face to face. It's not social media. It's not through just, customer service. It's real interaction. And so those moments are always amazing and full of customers who come and say, this is my fourth Playa Society pop-up, or, customers who were waiting outside for the pop-up to open for, 20, 30 minutes. And those are always really exciting moments. So the returning customers, the ones who have been coming back, or ones who have 30 t-shirts, 50 t-shirts, always seeing those customers. There's a lot to name, and, because it's been such a journey, and I feel like I've been on this journey with this community. And so I think the story is just building over time, and I really appreciate that.
The story is definitely building. I can't wait to see what the next page is. So my question would be, what is your next project or dream collab that you want to achieve?
Wow. That is tough. I don't know. Here's the thing. It's hard. I'm always kind of like, I've learned a lot, and I wasn't always this calm, balanced person, right? It was always like, everything needs to happen now, and I want this and I want that. But now I've learned, especially being in this space, the things that have been the most exciting are the things that I never saw coming. And, whether it's the page drop that we just had, or the court that we just had, those things I didn't plan for and I never saw coming. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited for the things that I can't even really wrap my head around right now, or can't even think of or imagine. Those are exciting opportunities for me. But I'll also say, like, I'm excited for more collaboration, but I'm very much excited as I'm building a team now. For a while, Playa Society was kind of just me and a freelance part-time person, right? But now I have full-time employees, and we're building a team, and we're doing all of these things. So I'm looking forward to having more time to actually create a lot of the pieces that are in my sketchbook or in my head that I haven't had the chance to put out. So I'm like, is it crazy to say I'm gonna be collaborating with myself?
No. That is not crazy to say. And I want to see that collaboration, because if you are kind of saying that you haven't had all the free time that you want to create, and you're creating this, and you've created this, the sky is even more of a limit than what it already is. Because let me get that collab. I'm trying to collab with yourself. Actually, that's the thing.
Yeah.
You could vet that whole thing out, to be honest.
Yeah.
Well, we're here as part of the Connecting Changes Everything interview series, where we're connecting with game changers like yourself. And, there are so many people, so many women in the sports space that are doing so many amazing things. And there are people whose connection has inspired you, I'm sure. Can you just kind of break down? I know we already talked about Lisa and Cheryl, but can you break down some of the other people, some of the other women who have been game changers in your space?
Yeah, I know a big one is definitely Don Staley. And that's another drop that we recently did that I cannot overlook, because that was another amazing opportunity that I probably didn't see coming prior to a month or however long before we actually did the drop. And for me, when I talk about, I started playing basketball in high school, right? And then went on to play in college and overseas. It really started with, I grew up in Massachusetts, and someone gave me tickets to a UMass game. And of course, UMass is playing against Temple, and Don Staley's coaching. I didn't know anything about Temple. I didn't know anything about Don Staley. This was like one of my first moments of exposure to women's sports, women's basketball. So I'm kind of watching and taking it all in. And just seeing that game made me interested and made me want to learn more, made me want to keep playing and all of those things. So Don Staley for me was always that, from that moment that I saw her on the sideline, I was like, I want to play basketball, and then I want to be a coach. That was the plan. I wanted to be like Don Staley. And so that was kind of a big moment for me. And so then kind of bringing it kind of full circle with having the opportunity to celebrate her statue in South Carolina. So that's just a big one for me in terms of women in this space. And I think she's kind of like the people's coach, right? Or the people's champ. So a lot of love for her.
If you don't love Don Staley, I don't know what you're doing.
I'm going to judge you because you must not be my type of person.
1000%. So we've mentioned Dawn, Lisa, Cheryl, a lot of different game changers throughout this interview. But if there was one person that you think we should connect with next, who would it be?
I would definitely say, of course, Dawn is a good one. I would also say Cynthia Cooper. She's obviously had such a huge impact and a lot of stories to tell that I'm sure a lot of people haven't even heard.
Okay, Cynthia Cooper. Yeah. I'm here for that. I am definitely here for that. In the spirit of connecting with Cynthia Cooper, what is something that you would want to say to her or let know about you and how she's impacted your life, and how that connection specifically has impacted your life?
I mean, wow. So I'm always like, because I started playing so late, right? I started playing, after I would have had the opportunity to see some of these legends actually be on the court. So I've interacted with Cynthia post career, right? Of course, and just her energy, her storytelling. She tells a good story, right? And that's always a way to get me drawn in. And so just I would just want her to feel celebrated and seen. I think she definitely deserves that. I hope to be able to have a moment where I get to do that. But I think the best thing versus saying, I'm someone who obviously I speak through design and I'm very visual, but I would want her to feel celebrated and feel like we're all rooting for her still and excited about what she's contributed to the game.
Well, I'm going to be prepping for this interview. I'm excited. Definitely cannot wait to connect with Cynthia Cooper on every single level. But what is one question I should include in this interview?
Oh man, one question. Ask her when the Playa Society drop is going to drop. Ask her that. Ask her when we could connect and get on the phone and do a drop.
Oh, let's do that. Okay, hold on. Let's do this.
I know you'll take care of all the other questions, so let me get a question in there for myself.
Okay, don't you worry. I'll be asking because I want that collaboration in my closet.
We all need that feature.
We definitely do. Thank you so much for your time today. It has been amazing to get to know you. I do want to end it with one thing. If you could connect us with one piece of advice in our walk and in the things that we're accomplishing every day, through your experiences, through your creation of Playa Society, what would one piece of advice be that you would connect us with?
I would say, because I think this is something that I even have to remind myself every day, but I would just say, trust your instincts. So I know how hard it is to lose sight of that with, there's so much happening all the time, especially as everybody's talking about how things are growing and how this space is growing, but trust your instincts and like the authenticity of even where you started and the vision that you have had. Just stay rooted in that and continue to trust in that.
As you should be. And I just want to say, with all of the high demand that you have, thank you so much for being with us today. Connecting with you has clearly and truly been everything. And we look forward to connecting with Cynthia Cooper on the next Connecting Changes Everything interview presented by AT&T.
For sure. Thank you for having me.